let's take a deeper dive now into number one, Trump's really increasing his pressure campaign against Republicans to get rid of the filibuster. And that led to him in that really scary clip saying something to the effect of, I don't think Democrats will ever attain power again if we do get rid of the filibuster. Don't call him a wannabe king, though. That would be deranged. That would be the crazy thing. Not saying I don't believe they'll ever attain power again in a democracy where the pattern is it swings over and over, back and forth. So that's number one I want to dive into. And then number two is the shutdown, and reportedly a deal that might be coming together to get us out of the shutdown, but some contradictions from the different outlets reporting on this as to what Democrats might be agreeing to. So first, you have a reporter, Andrew, saying news inside the room per multiple GOP senators. That same speech where Trump made that remark about Democrats not getting to power was in front of the press, and then they kicked the press out of the room, and then it got a little bit more raw. After reporters were kicked out, Trump said the election results showed that shutdown has been worse for us than for them, and that ours are getting killed. Republicans are getting killed. Trump said, he means electorally. Trump said the GOP will become a dead party if they don't nuke the filibuster. Trump got into it with Lindsey Graham after Graham tried to confront him, tried to make the point that they can still use reconciliation to pass legislation with a simple majority. Trump snapped at Graham. Lindsey, you and I both know that there's so much you cannot do with reconciliation. So that's the budget reconciliation process, which is just simple majority. A lot of stuff can get passed through that, but then other stuff can't, and you need that 60 vote threshold because of the filibuster, which you could get rid of. And in the long term, I don't think the Senate should have a filibuster. So I want that so that Democrats are forced to not operate with a filibuster so they can actually govern, and not already in a situation where you already have all this overrepresentation of Republicans. Then you add the filibuster, and now it's just out of control. But it's also scary to hear Trump saying he wants to get rid of it because then they can do all these things that he believes would prevent Democrats from ever getting into power again. And Trump is reportedly saying he's going to make Republicans' lives a living hell if they don't get rid of the filibuster. And honestly, as Aaron Rupar points out here, the GOP claim that Democrats are responsible for the shutdown keeps being undermined by Trump, who's demanding they unilaterally end it by abolishing the filibuster. Trump says Republicans are being killed, and he's not wrong. They control the federal government. That's a good point, too. If Trump's saying we have the authority and should get rid of the filibuster, then we can avert or get us out of the shutdown through a simple majority in the Senate, then he's acknowledging it's not really the Democrats' fault then, as simply as he tries to brand it. That's a little bit of a contradiction in and of itself. He's posting over and over, Republicans, terminate the filibuster, get back to pass legislation, and voter reform. Voter reform. Then you have John Kennedy. So you heard that kind of hostile back and forth between Lindsey Graham and Trump reportedly happened in the room, got tense. Then John Kennedy is saying he's also opposed to Trump on ending the filibuster.
I explained to him, I said, Mr. President, the job of a senator is not just to advance good ideas. The job of a senator is also to kill bad ideas.
And how did you take your response?
Like you would expect.
Not happy?
He didn't. He wasn't unhappy. I mean, the president didn't yell or anything. Of course, he's never yelled at me. There's always a first time, you know. but he doesn't agree with me. And
so that's kind of at a standstill. And maybe it will become irrelevant if the shutdown is ended. I think that the pressure Trump sees on Republicans to end the shutdown makes him believe this can be his moment to get rid of the filibuster. Then they would just need a simple majority for everything going forward. And then he believes he can do all these things that will cause Democrats to never get into power again. And so he's seeing this as a critical moment where Republicans might have a motivation to get rid of the filibuster because the shutdown's happening. If the shutdown is ended before that happens, I don't think then Trump will have the pressure. He's posting about Democrats cracking like dogs. Now, let's just reflect for a second, if you'll take that down, Jaden, on this. Let me see. Here we go.
I'm up here sweating like a dog.
He quit like a dog.
He was choking like a dog. He was choking. They cheated like dogs, but he died like a dog. She lied like a dog.
She choked like a dog.
I dropped him like a dog. CNN is dying like a dog. But I just had a hot dog, and it was very good.
So we continue to be confused by his perception of dogs. But more importantly, you have headlines like this. Things are getting bad because of this shutdown. So many people aren't being paid, now missing multiple checks. Federal workers, some having to then get other part-time jobs outside to just pay basic bills. And airports are a disaster. Trump's pushing to cut off at least partially food assistance. And so I really want a deal to be made. And with how much Democrats have stood their ground, they're going to have to get real concessions. And that's what's disputed right now. Because there's a dispute, I see some people out there reporting on this, at least as of when I'm recording this, as if they know that Democrats are fully caving. From what I've seen, we don't know that, but there is some contradictions. So this one makes it seem like they are going to get an ACA subsidy concession deal to end government shutdown in reach. It hasn't been inked or anything, but it's being discussed. Most significant movement toward a bipartisan breakthrough in the talks to reopen the government in over a month. And the deal would include a December vote. You know what? I think maybe they are caving. A December vote on a Democratic proposal to extend ACA tax credits for 1 year. It could also include some kind of language to help federal workers who have been laid off under the shutdown. That's important too. So, actually, the people I just criticized, I think might be a little bit correct. This is the one that's frightening. An end to the shutdowns in sight, that's good. But then a senior Democratic senator tells me there will be more than enough Democrats to vote in favor of reopening the government tonight. They'll get a promise of a vote on health care, but nothing more. Most of the Democratic leadership will likely vote against it. Okay, what? You're going to take Republicans' word for it? You have to get the extension. I thought when I originally read it, they said they got an extension that would be a part of the deal, attached to the funding. In that same bill would be the ACA subsidy extension. But if it's, you're going to vote for the funding, reopen the government, but then we'll definitely put that up for a vote later, that would be nothing. I've told the story before. We were in the studio in DC. Stuff had been getting stolen off of our doorstep. Guy shows up, grabs my new bag of sweaters that had just been delivered to the doorstep, runs away with it. I sprint up the stairs. I swing open the door. I smack myself in the face. Jaden jumps over me, doesn't care for me. No, goes to get the perp and chases the guy. The guy hops on a bike. We both start chasing. I have a concussion. I'd slam my face into the door. Thing hurts. Running, chasing. We catch him. He looks at us and he says, "Hey, I just put the bag of clothes that I stole over in that alleyway. I'm going to go grab it and I'll give it back to you." Jaden and I go, "Okay, deal." And wait there. And he never came back. Obviously. That guy, I think we were more rational to trust that guy's word, the thief, than Democrats would be to trust Republicans' word on, yeah, sure, we'll do that later. What would all of this have been for? A very dilapidated Lindsey Graham came out of, or was asked about his talks with Democrats and said it's just terrible.
Senator Graham, can we ask you about this new Democrat offer? What do you make of the 1 year ACA?
Terrible, horrible. I'm not going to keep giving taxpayer dollars to the 5 largest healthcare insurance companies under Obamacare to get the government open.
We need fundamental change in our healthcare system. Everyone should have coverage, like every other industrialized nation on the planet. And I want that. Lindsey Graham doesn't. So it's interesting when you hear Republicans point to the issues with the ACA. And it's like, yeah, but y'all want it to be worse. That was an improvement, not enough, but an improvement. We talked about how it slowed the increase of premiums. That's not enough, but at least it did something. Got more people coverage. And these subsidies, if they do expire, you're going to see skyrocketing premiums. And so it's a small step, but it's very reasonable. People cannot afford a skyrocketing hundreds of percent increase. And that's what we're facing if they don't extend this. Now, getting a promise of a vote on maybe a 1 year extension seems to not be worth it. I also get why people feel urgent to end this. It's getting really bad for people. We're going to the holidays. They're just having to start cutting off a bunch of the flights. But Ron Filipkowski said this move by Democrats today, which I called for 2 weeks ago, really exposed the Republican position. It smoked them out in the open. They refused to extend the ACA subsidies, which will cause insurance premiums to go up for 22 million people. It's not about anything else. That is good. I also kind of wanted that, even though, of course, I'd love a world where they got Republicans to roll back all of their cuts to Medicaid. That would be great. But they're not going to do that. That was a big part of the bill. That was Trump's whole agenda. So that seemed unlikely. Getting something very tangible and doable like these ACA subsidies and saying that's our only demand and you have to follow through, otherwise we won't fund the government, seems like you can actually get it, as opposed to it just being the imagery of fighting, but you won't ever achieve anything. And it's exposed them that they're even saying no to just that, which is oh so very reasonable. And all it is continuing to plug up the holes of the thing that's leaking temporarily. It's not a long-term fix, but at least it's plugging up some holes. That's always good. Holes being plugged. Then Trump is working really hard during the shutdown, I guess to put pressure on Democrats to cut off food assistance. And he's been swinging back and forth, and he is or he isn't, and then he is now again after the Supreme Court enabled this. The Trump administration told states to immediately undo any actions to provide full food stamp benefits to low-income families, threatening financial penalties if they do not comply. And that followed a Supreme Court ruling that overturned lower court rulings that were preventing Trump from doing just this, which is cutting off partially funds, even though there is money for it, but they're choosing not to use it. Josh says he didn't wait for permission to blow up boats off the coast of Venezuela or to shutter USAID. Seems like if he wants to pay food stamps or air traffic controllers, he'd just tell Treasury to do it. Yeah. He's been doing whatever he wants without congressional approval throughout this presidency. But now they're trying to act like, even in a case where they do have the authority to fund food assistance, that they just can't. Here's Jake Tapper in an airport. If you're not at an airport, I'm not going anytime soon because it's getting really bad.
I'm at Ronald Reagan National Airport outside Washington, D.C. in Virginia. This is one of the 40 airports where the Trump administration and the Federal Aviation Administration have canceled 4% of flights. And it started today, and take a look. Closed, delayed, canceled, delayed, canceled, delayed, on time, delayed, canceled, delayed, on time, canceled, closed, delayed, on time, canceled, canceled. And it repeats all the way down.
So one of the things I've ranted a lot about already is air travel in many cases is a nightmare before this. Now going into the holidays, Thanksgiving, where tons of people fly to see family. That's the state of things. So be very cautious. Just be prepared if you do have to fly somewhere. It could be yikes. And so then you go, Transportation Secretary, is there anything we can do? And Sean Duffy's messaging has only increased the concern because, of course, air traffic controllers, different workers related to airports aren't getting paid. So a lot of them, out of necessity, are not showing up to work because they have to go make money elsewhere while this takes place.
To answer your question, it's only going to get worse. I look to, the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle. We have a number of people who want to get home for the holidays. They want to see their family. They want to celebrate this great American holiday. Listen, many of them are not going to be able to get on an airplane.
Trump is the president. While, yes, he needs Democratic votes, he has majorities in the House and Senate. It is his task to bring people together to make a deal. And he liked to brand himself as the great deal maker. And now air travel being reduced to a trickle is what we're looking at as people are suffering, and that will cause even more chaos. And you don't hear many people on the right calling on Trump to even negotiate. If Democrats were making demands and saying we won't even negotiate them, I'd have more criticism. But they have very clear demands now and want to negotiate with Trump and want to sit down and discuss how to get out of this. And as Trump has previously said, that is the job of the president. Here's more from Sean Duffy.
The problem I have too is, as you know, I'm short air traffic controllers. I'm trying to get more air traffic controllers into the towers and be certified, but I'm about 1,000 to 2,000 controllers short. And so I paid experienced controllers to stay on the job and not retire. I used to have about 4 controllers retire a day before the shutdown. I'm now up to 15 to 20 a day are retiring. So it's going to be harder for me to come back after the shutdown and have more controllers controlling the airspace. So this is going to live on.
Gosh, Sean. So his message is it's going to get worse, and it's still going to get worse after the shutdown's over. And you know how they have Doge and how the Trump administration has been handling federal workers. I wonder why you're creating an environment where less people want to work there, even separate from the shutdown. Then he said he's having Pete Hegseth I think I might have some people who could be air traffic controllers.
I don't want to see disruption for the American people. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, texted me yesterday and said, I might have some air traffic controllers. If you could use them, I'm going to offer them to you. Now, I don't know that I can, Jake, because they're not certified in the airspaces that we need them. But if I can, I'm going to use them. Everyone in this administration, at the direction of President Trump, has said minimize the pain on Americans. So this is not political. This is strictly safety. And I'm doing what I can in a mass.
Trump has tried to maximize the pain to put pressure, by the way. But something about hearing Sean Duffy so openly discuss this makes me really uncomfortable. I'm talking to Pete Hegseth. He's like, hey, I have these people who could do it. I'm like, I don't know if they're certified in the correct airspaces, but maybe throw them in there. Makes me nervous. Makes me very, very nervous. And I think, you remember Katie Porter running for governor? Got into the little controversy of yelling at the staff member and the interview thing. But I think, listen to this proposal, okay?
Here's a question for Donald Trump as he forces airlines to cancel thousands and thousands of flights. Why is he starting first with the commercial planes that we all use to go visit our families or get where we need to for work? Every day, thousands of private jets take off, carrying CEOs, billionaires, and the 1%, and they take up the work of the air traffic control system too. Wouldn't it make more sense to cancel the planes that carry the fewest passengers first? It's just another example of who Donald Trump really cares about, and it isn't us.
Hey, I don't know the logistics of that. Sounds reasonable. And who would be better to go ground those planes than Katie Porter? Think about if you just sent... I think she should make her proposal, and I'll be the one who cancels the flights. I'll go up, and instead of saying, get out of my effing shot, I'll say, get off the effing plane. I'll channel every bit of me that you saw in those videos, and I'll channel it at the private jet owners. It's an idea. I think she could do it. Can you not picture her walking up, getting truly, probably would enjoy walking up to some bougie private jet of Elon Musk or something and going, not today, buddy. Not today. We don't have the controllers for this.